What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Supergirl Season 2, Episode 1. First of all, just want to apologize. I have fallen very far behind. I've got several shows to review. This is the first one of many that I've got to watch and review, so let's get through it. Title of this episode, The Adventures of Supergirl. Real quick, just about Season 1. If you didn't see my reviews of Season 1, I liked it, didn't like it, drove me crazy, got pretty good. It was a very first season. I understand that there are certain things that you're trying to figure out. There are certain things that you want to do with the characters, certain storylines you've got in your head. It was not well executed, though. A lot of the first half of the season was mainly about relationship stuff. Like, just, is she going to be with Jimmy? Is she going to go with Wynn? Is she going to go with Cat Grant's nephew? It was all just really focused on that. And that's all it really was. The fighting, the plot with her aunt, all that just kind of took a back seat in a couple episodes. And even near the end of the season, while it did get better, while the action got better, the story got really good, there was still a lot of stupid relationship bullcrap. And I just can't stand it whenever a good TV show, well, not necessarily a good TV show, but a good superhero TV show decides to go and do that. Like whenever on Arrow, whenever they start thinking about, oh, what is he going to do with Laurel or with Sarah, or, who's he going to go with? All this stuff, Felicity, it just really bothers me whenever a show that should be about action and about saving the day and about trying to stop the bad guys takes a huge halt, just screeches to a halt and says, hang on, we need to figure out about this relationship stuff. We need to figure out, are they going to hook up or what? It just feels unnecessary. It feels like you're trying to get people to be like, who's he going to go with? Who's she going to go with? What's going to happen? It feels like you're just trying to entice the girls to come in and watch it. Like, oh, you've already got the guys because they're superheroing and there's action. But let's have some stuff for the ladies too, so they can gossip and talk about, oh, he's so handsome, oh, she should never pick him, oh my gosh. It feels like a ploy to try to get more people to watch. And all it does is shut off people like me who just want to tune in and see, okay, how are they going to stop the bad guys? What story-wise, what's going on? And I do understand that if there's no personalized stuff, yeah, it's hard to get invested if you don't connect with them personally. I get that. But to feel like the only way you can connect to them personally is to focus on who do they like, who do they not like, it feels like a kind of slap in the face. Like, that's the only way you can get to know somebody is, oh, are they interested in this person? That's all you need to know. They're interested in this person, now you connect with them. No. And honestly, that's what this episode does very well. We start to see a lot more about family. She gets... First of all, we have Superman in this show, finally. I think part of the problem with the first season is that there were some licensing issues, so CBS could not get the rights to have Superman in their show. So we only got to see like a silhouette of him that didn't even show up. That's all we got of Superman. We finally have an actual character, Superman, in this one. We have Clark Kent, all that stuff. That's good. They have a good relationship between Clark and Kara, which is good. Even the stuff between, Kara and Jimmy and Alex, that stuff is well handled too. So let's talk about that stuff first. The stuff between Kara and Alex, I think, it's kind of underplayed in this episode, but you can tell that they've got a little bit of tension. Alex knows what she's going through, but Kara doesn't really want to talk about it with her. And you kind of get this feel that Alex is kind of like, why won't she talk to me about this stuff? Why? They've been talking the entire first season. Like, they just talked, and it was easy for them to communicate with each other. For some reason, this episode, they're not communicating as well, and there's a very visible tension there because of that. Not necessarily like a fight or anything like that, but it does lend to the possibility of maybe they're not getting along as well. Maybe some of the repercussions at the end of last season are kind of affecting them now. It'd be interesting to see what they're going to do with that. Between Kara and Jimmy, honestly, probably not well handled, but they made just this incredible decision by the end of this episode to say, you know what, Kara and Jimmy are better as friends. Thank you. The entire first season was spent on hooking them up. And that's a majority of why I hated the first season, because they have nothing in common. Like, there's, aside from the fact that they do have good conversations together, that they have good chemistry on screen, other than that, they have nothing in common. He is confident, he is just outgoing, he wants to talk to everybody, he wants to be friends with everybody. She's very shy, very timid, and while you can't say, oh, well, opposites attract, in this case, it didn't really ever work out. It was always like, it always came off as like he was flirting with her, but she never knew what to say or do anything about it because she's just so awkward and shy, doesn't really know what to do, and it didn't feel like they worked together. So the show tried to really push it on us in the first season, like, oh, no, this is going to work. This is definitely going to work, guys. I still didn't feel like it was going to work, even at the end of the season. So the very first thing, it moves over to the CW, very first thing the CW says, nope, no Kara and Jimmy. Okay. You know, while that is frustrating that the entire first season was building that up just for them to cut it off, at the same time, I didn't like that in the first season. So I'm glad. I'm glad that they're not together anymore. They don't work together. I would much rather see Kara and Wynn get together, but even then, you know, like, she doesn't really need a guy to be with right now. She's still figuring out her life. She's still figuring out how to be a superhero and handle her life. You know, Clark has been doing this for years. That's why he can be Superman and be Clark Kent and have Lois Lane. All this stuff, because he's been doing it for years. Kara just started. She's not even close to figuring out even how to have a job and be Supergirl. So it makes perfect sense for her not to have a guy right now. That's fine. I know some people are probably going to get pissed about that because, oh my gosh, it's Jimmy! But seriously, I'm really happy that's gone. Then finally, the Kara and Clark connection. I think the guy they picked to play Superman, I do like this actor. I don't know him personally, but the guy that they picked, first of all, he has the look, and second of all, he is the perfect Clark Kent. Superman, he's lacking a little something in Superman, and maybe it'll get better as it goes along. But as far as Clark Kent goes, when he puts on the glasses, and when you first heard him talking at the beginning of the episode, all I could think was, that's Clark Kent. That is pitch perfect, picture perfect Clark Kent. It was, I don't even know how to describe it, but the tone was right, the words he chose were right, his mannerisms were right. It's just exactly what I picture whenever I think about Clark Kent, mild-mannered, not being Superman, trying to convince everybody he's not Superman. This is what I picture. I'm so excited to see more about this, and hopefully we'll see more of him being Clark than we will him being Superman, because, you know, I don't necessarily want to see Superman and Supergirl working together the entire season, because think about that. You've got two superpowered Kryptonians working together, and then on top of that, you've got Martian Manhunter, who is pretty much a superpowered Kryptonian, you know, same abilities and stuff. To see them working together just feels like nobody stands a chance. Like, there's no way you're actually gonna. So it would be interesting to see him, maybe not as much of a superhero in this show, maybe more Clark Kent in this show. I'd like to see that. I think they're handling it well, but the conversations they have, the chemistry between the two, you pretty much believe they are family. You know, you can feel it's almost like they're siblings. I really enjoy some of the dialogue. Some of it maybe a little bit cheesy, but I feel like that's kind of who they are. They're both kind of cheesy characters. They're both, I come to save the day, you know, that type of character. I don't mind some cheesy dialogue. I don't mind some, you know, oh, I usually go say hi. Me too. I don't know. It got me going. I got invested in it. And that's something that the first season really never did. It never got me truly invested in the characters and made me want to see more. I want to see more of this. So I think they handled that very well. Some of the other stuff going on, you've got Cat Grant still a part of it. She's still a big deal right now. I heard that she's only going to be a recurring, like, featured character. That kind of makes me sad because this first episode, reminded me why I like Cat Grant. Because there are times in the first season where it feels like, why is she here? Like, what is her point in this show? She feels like she's just a douchebag to everybody. But then there were moments she had where she encouraged Kara whenever she tried to give her advice. I'm just like, okay, yeah, I can see her as a mentor now. But for the most part, it felt like she was just constantly tormenting her, constantly giving her grief. It didn't feel right. So this episode, I think, really just captured why she is Kara's mentor. Because the advice she gives her, the fact that she kind of had to give her the kick in the ass to get going, and then at the end, whenever she says, I want to be a reporter, and then Kat pulls out that piece of paper and says, I wrote this whenever you came in for an interview. I wrote reporter because I just saw that bit of me in you. Then it gives her this nice little speech about, kind of taking the dive, taking the plunge into the waters, taking that first step to get going. Really, really well done. And like I said, if she's only going to be a recurring character every now and then, I'll be a little bit disappointed because I want to see more of her after this episode. I think they handled her really well. I think she did a good job of being that mentor to Kara, and made me truly believe that Kara really looks up to her. Like I understand why now because of this. So really enjoyed that part of it. Trying to think. Still got John's in it. They're building a little bit of tension between John and Superman because apparently a while ago they found some kryptonite somewhere. Can't remember where. But Superman was obviously like, we gotta destroy it, and John's was like, no, I want to keep it. So there's a little bit of tension there, but I was kind of hoping for a bit more. Like, whenever they first met, you could see that there was some sort of history there, and I was wondering, like, are they going to have differing ideals? What could it possibly be? So when I found out that it was as simple as he has kryptonite, Superman wanted to destroy it, and that was it, I was a little bit disappointed. I was like, that feels a little bit too simple, where you could really actually have some interesting stuff to go off of, but maybe that's just me. What else? I think that's about it as far as characters go. There are a few other characters. You got the Lex Luthor sister, which I love the fact that they are actually bringing Lex Luthor into a bigger character in this show. And it would be great to have an actual Lex Luthor in the show. But I feel like that's kind of what the first season lacked a little bit. Like, there was talk of Superman, there was talk of Metropolis. It didn't feel like it was truly connected to the DC universe, especially when you have Cat Grant going on the show The Talk. And it's just like, she's mentioning all these famous people. It's like, I don't feel like this is in the DC universe. Marvel doing that makes sense because Marvel is set in real, they're set in New York. They're set in actual countries. DC is set in made up cities, Metropolis, Gotham, National City. So it didn't really make sense for them to be making all of these references to real life. And so it felt sort of out of place. It felt like it existed in our world, which that's not what it's supposed to do. So bringing in Superman, first of all, bringing in Lex Luthor, bringing in Luthor Corp, now called L Corp, having even the little throwaway line where Superman comes down and saves this family from a drone. And then, first of all, the little wink back to him was just another example of some of the cheese, but still entertaining cheese. But then, like, he flies away, the kid's just like, awesome! And the dad's just like, we're moving back to Gotham. I'm like, they mentioned Gotham. I feel like I'm in the DC universe now. It's little tiny things, yes, but it connects it to a larger universe. It doesn't make it feel like, oh, it's this one little fictional city inside of our world. It does work. But yeah, having Lena Luthor a part of it, I think I'm wondering about her character. It seems like they're kind of building her up to be a main character this season. I have to wonder if she truly is a good guy. They're trying to make it seem like she wants to change Luthor Corp to erase the history of Lex Luthor, her brother, adopted brother apparently. But I'm wondering if it's going to be one of those where, like, she is like the face of the corporation. She's trying to be, she's pretending to be the good guy, and at the end of it, it turns out all of that was set up. All of this, the plot to kill her, all of that was set up just so they would believe, oh, she's a good guy. Her brother's trying to kill her. Just for it to turn around and be like, oh no, that was all set up by her to make them think she was good when actually she's bad. If they did that, it would be a little bit cliche, but I guess it would make it a bit more interesting because now it's a bit of a guessing game. Do we trust her? Do we not trust her? Who do we trust nowadays? So I'm interested to see where that goes. But I do like some of the dialogue that went on between her and Kara, between her and Clark, whenever they went to talk to her about, are you a suspect? And then afterwards, you need to be safe. I feel like they have a good little dialogue back and forth in this episode. It's just some of the lines really work. Some of them feel realistic. I think probably some of my favorite lines were Cat Grant's lines to Kara, and then some of Wynn's lines. He is the Cisco Ramon of the show. If you watch The Flash, you understand what I'm saying. Like, he truly is the Cisco. He makes those the quick little one-liners that just kind of really make you laugh. When he first met Superman, it was probably one of the funniest scenes I've seen on the show. It works so well. So anyway, that's about all for, I guess, the character stuff. As far as the story goes, I don't really know where it's going right now. Obviously, they did save Lena in this one. They stopped the guy. I can't remember his name right now. But apparently they stop him, but he gets shot by Lena. Once again, kind of making the possibility that, oh, she's not behind it, guys, and then she might be later. He gets taken to Project Cadmus, though, and then they start injecting him with something, which I had to look it up, because I was like, what does she call him? It was so, I don't know, because of all the noises going on in the background I didn't hear. She called him Metallo. I looked that character up, and apparently he's like a kryptonite-infused person. I don't know if he's going to come back like as a semi-main villain, or if it's just going to be, oh, Project Cadmus is creating these supervillains. I don't know what the plot is there, but it is interesting to see what they're going to do next. It feels like they've actually got a pretty decent setup. The other storyline is obviously the pod from the end of last season. Don't really know where they're going with that. The guy's name is Mon-El. I had to look that up too because they didn't say his name. But I don't know where that's going. Kind of curious, but at the same time I'm just like, I don't know how curious I am about this strange Kryptonian. Maybe he'll provide something interesting to the story, but right now I'm more interested in seeing the Luthor side, whether or not Lena can or cannot be trusted, how much Lex is going to be involved in the show, but also the Project Cadmus. Apparently Alex's father is supposed to be there still, so be very interested to see just quite what they have going on and what story plots they're going to expand upon. So really enjoyed this first episode. Did it have its problems? Yes, but I think it's really picked up. It's now that it's on the CW, I feel like they've really made some changes that I feel like are going to help the show this season. I feel like they've got a good idea of what they want to do. They're making a few changes. It's much more. Obviously, the first season was very lighthearted, but it's much more lighthearted in a more realistic sense. Like it's not just happy-go-lucky, nothing's wrong, everything is awesome type thing. It's real life is going on, but you've got cheery characters in Superman and Supergirl because, unlike Man of Steel, this Superman is actually what I picture when I think of Superman / Clark Kent. He's happy. While he can be serious at times, he's very much a cheery person. That's part of Superman's appeal. He's always smiling. He's got the big grin and just like, I'm here to stop you today. So, long story short, good first episode. Excited for the second season. Look forward to what they're going to do. Hopefully they don't mess it up, but we'll see how they're going to do. So, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What you like and dislike about this episode. What are some of your theories going forward about these new plot developments? Let me know. We can talk about it, all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Supergirl reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.